I helped the seller to get $100,000 more for his property than it is worth, and I got paid $20,000 for doing so. Why would any buyer pay $100,000 for the property than it's worth? Well, let's find out. So I met Clifton in January of this year at my very first Ryan Pineda's event, which at the time was called Tax NFT. Now it's called WealthCon. It's gotten way bigger and better. But yeah, that was the event, and I actually raised my very first private money with Clifton, which I'm super grateful for. And now we bought a property together. We're working on improving it. But then, he mentioned the property in North Hollywood that he wanted to sell, and that brought us together even more. And now this grew into not just partnership, but also a true friendship. Clifton, would you please tell us a little bit about yourself? What do you do, and how come you decided to sell your property in North Hollywood?
Yeah, well, like you said, we met at Ryan Pineda's office, one of the real estate meetups here in Las Vegas. And like you said, I did move out of Los Angeles probably about in 2020.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, that's a little cute dog here.
So in 2020, my wife and I moved to Las Vegas from Los Angeles because we wanted to get out of Los Angeles. It was a crazy time, a crazy year. So I'd like to, sometimes look at that year as a blessing to us. A lot of people can look at it as one of the worst years of their lives, but there are some good things that came out of 2020. Like we got to move out here in Las Vegas where my wife's family lives, and we've got 2 boys. And so we got out of Los Angeles, bought a house here in Las Vegas. Oh boy.
Rocket.
Uh-oh.
Quiet.
He's not gonna stop.
Quiet.
Stop. Sorry. Dude, seriously? So sorry.
So, but you didn't tell us what do you do and why you ended up being in Hollywood in the first place. Tell us about it.
Well, yeah, so my wife and I, we're part of the entertainment industry. We have been for the last 25 years, maybe more. That's where we made a living. It was awesome. It's still a great industry, obviously. There's some things that need to be worked out. But yeah, so we were part of that. We did a couple of Broadway shows, toured around nationally with that, and had some, little things here and there in TV and film. But ultimately stepped into real estate. We actually had a couple of properties throughout our career that kind of supplemented our acting careers, which I found out, I was like, oh, I'm actually kind of doing the real estate thing.
Without
even knowing it. And so in 2020, we decided to move to Vegas. We were able to actually burr out our condo there and our single family home there, and was able to burr that out, had the money, and then bought this property here. We built out our backyard.
By the way,
yes.
For people who don't know what burr is, could you explain that?
Yeah, burr, and I'm sure you've probably heard it all.
It's an acronym, right?
Yes, it's buy, renovate, rent, and then repeat.
Refinance and repeat.
Refinance is the main thing in repeat. I knew I was going to miss one. So buy, renovate, refinance.
Rent, refinance, repeat.
Rent, refinance, repeat.
Yeah.
That's the burr method. And so we did that with our single family home. We obviously got tenants in there to pay for the mortgage at that time. And I was learning that with Ryan Pineda online. And so it was another kind of cool thing to move here to Vegas, knowing that Ryan Pineda and his company was here, hoping that I would jump into the real estate game even more. And then, of course, that's where we met at his office, Red and I.
Adding to this, we are both part of a wealthy investor, Ryan Pineda's mastermind.
We
both belong there, this beautiful community.
Yeah, the All-Star program. So if you're thinking about joining, I highly recommend it because partnerships happen and friendships happen too. It's an awesome program. And so we burred out those 2 properties, moved here to Vegas, have our primary house here now. And so I started investing with other investors in the program at the Wealthy Way and Wealthy Investor, and did a fix and flip last year with another investor who was an all-star. And then, of course, wanted to jump into some more investing, fix and flips and all that kind of stuff. And so I was hoping to get into more investments and knew that we had cash kind of just sitting around, and I wanted to do stuff with it. And, I'm sort of those older investors who kind of have who realized that I was more the private money lender than the fix and flippers or the wholesaling, because I just felt like just at a point in my life that's where I wanted to be, is more private lending. And so, like Red was saying, we met over there at the office, and we realized that, when Brian DeVilla was asking what people did, I raised my hand during private money, and I think Red kind of side-eyed me and was like, okay, I need to go talk to that guy right after. And we made a connection. Red came over and talked to me, and he said, so you raised your hand during private money lending? And I said I did. And he's like, oh, I've got a deal. And I was like, oh, really? Okay. I said, well, tell me about it and all that kind of stuff. And so we connected in that sense. Sorry, he's gonna be all over the place. Sorry, okay. Rocky, come on, buddy. And we then actually jumped on that. I think it was that deal that we jumped on in Ohio, and then we got that set up. And I knew some of the investments that we had already invested in. The money was tied up and locked up, and so I was like, we probably should sell our properties to get the cash out and stuff like that, and realize that we were going to deal with taxes and all that kind of stuff. And talking to Red some more, he was kind of introducing me to Subject 2, and I was like, I don't understand that. I don't know what that's like, so you're going to have to layman's term kind of tell me about it. And so I was looking to sell off our single family home to get the cash that I wanted to get out, and then pay off some debt, and then actually invest it in other properties.
Now I like to get into this property with you, right? Specifics, the numbers, and how we structure the deal to make it work both for the buyer and the seller. Anyway, Rocky, tell us, how much were you on average cash flowing? What was your monthly PITI? What was your mortgage interest rate on your mortgage? Overall, like, give us some general numbers, and how much you wanted for the property.
So when you started talking to me about Subject 2, I started figuring out like what I wanted to have, once we sold the property. When we were renting it out, the mortgage on it was 29. PITI is monthly payment. Yeah, it was around 29. We were renting it out for $600. So we were cash flowing a few $100s, which is kind of unusual in LA, but because it was a single family home. The condo actually has HOAs on it, so that's like around 465. So that's why. But on the single family home, it was...
So about 500 you would average, maybe? If you didn't have any
roughly,
expenses.
Right. Yeah. But we do have a property management on the property.
That's right.
Because
so that would another 10%.
It was they actually, mine only charged me 7%.
So can we say that on average you would cash flow around $250, $300?
Yeah, I would say $300.
Okay, $300 a monthly cash flow, 3.99% on the mortgage.
3.99.
And how much you owed on the property?
We owed $530.
So you owed $530, and you wanted $1 million for your property.
I wanted at least to take home $1 million, but I was telling you $1.05 million.
$1.05 million.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, but here's the thing: you received a few offers, right?
Yeah.
So, a lowest offer was from an investor, right?
Yep.
How much he offered you?
$700.
$700,000. Okay, how much did your tenant also showed some interest in buying the property, but how much did your tenant offer?
$800,000 cash.
So $800,000 cash, so nothing close to $1 million.
No.
And a realtor, because the real estate market at the time, which was May, right, when you actually consider seriously selling it, it was still, nowadays, it's middle of the summer, real estate gotten a little better when it comes to purchase price and the appreciation, because there is no inventory on the market, right?
Right.
So real estate market right now is a little stronger in comparison. So at the time, I would say the fair value for the property was around $920, maybe $930. Yeah. So you wanted a little over $1 million, right? So realtor would probably list it at the market value, which was probably $920. Yeah. But the national average to sell a house on the open market is about 10-11%, considering to the commissions for both realtors on both sides, closing costs, some buyers incentives, whatever. Yeah. So you would still get probably around $800,000
after everything.
So obviously nothing close to $1 million again. Yeah. When you shared that with me, I'm like, what if I got you your million, whatever you wanted? Would you be open to terms?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And at the time, you're like, what are the terms?
Right.
So yeah, I found out that, he had a mortgage in place and you had obviously an equity.
Yes.
So your mortgage is sub 4%, which in today's interest rate environment is pretty good. You're not going to be able to apply for a loan and qualify and get anything close to 4% right now.
Yeah.
You had an equity. So for a potential buyer, getting a 3.99% mortgage already very attractive deal.
Very enticing. Yeah.
Yes. And to increase the possibility of getting to $1 million, I asked if you'd be willing to go at 0% interest on your equity, which is around $470,000, right?
Yeah.
So, and you said as long as I'm getting my $1 million, you would be open for it.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And that was great because benefits for you would be desired price, right?
Yeah.
You would get your million, which, I'm going to share later in this video how much exactly we sold the property for. And then second benefit would be you would be actually cash flowing, not $200-$300, but you would be cash flowing a lot more on your equity, right?
Yes.
And without having any overhead.
Yeah.
And you, in the state of California, your property is, and you're probably in the highest tax bracket, so it would be around 35%.
Yeah.
So you would be paying, even if you sold it for $1 million cash, you would get your $430, even though after closing costs it wouldn't be anything.
Yeah,
it would
be
probably
half.
$330.
Yeah.
And now 35% tax on top of it. So now you're getting probably $250,000, right? That's painful
Yes,
to
very
even
painful.
think about it. So anyway, if you're going the creative finance way, now you're delaying your capital gain taxes.
Yeah.
Because you're not getting the whole money up front.
Exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, those are the benefits that Clifton here saw immediately.
Yeah.
So anyway, we put the deal together. So we did $1,050,000 for purchase price, right? So we did 5-year term, and then for cash flow, you wanted $1,200.
I did, yeah.
So which was way better than $300 or whatever you were getting, right?
Yep.
On top of it, being responsible for the property and all of the maintenance and repairs.
Yeah.
And then a 5-year balloon, and a buyer would take over the mortgage.
Right.
We put the deal together, and I started looking for a buyer. Essentially, I found a couple buyers.
Right.
And the highest offer we received was $1,020,000.
Yeah.
Which, I came to you and you liked the offer, but the buyer wanted a longer term. If you remember, right?
Yep.
5 years is still, it's not that long, to be honest. And we don't know where the economy is going in the next few years.
Yeah.
So I went back to the buyer and said, hey, he would agree possibly for a longer term, but would you increase the monthly payments? Which he didn't mind.
Yeah.
So instead of getting $1,200 a month, now Clifton is getting $1,500 a month.
Yes.
So he gave a 7-year term to the buyer, and buyer in exchange gave you a bigger monthly payment.
Yes.
Which still made sense for a buyer because the market rent estimate on this property, you were getting 32, right? Yeah, so market rent estimate on this property is around $5,100.
36. Sorry, you said 32. 36.
Oh, sorry, 36, yes. 36 is where you were renting it for, so you were obviously, not getting enough rent. PITI is 29. And then on top of it, your monthly payment on your equity is $1,500. So that brings us to 41, right? So a buyer still cash flowing. So it makes sense number wise. And that's why I, in the very beginning of my real estate career, would also ask, why on earth would anyone buy a property that is worth this much and overpay, in this case, $100,000? But I love Pace Morby's quote on this. The value of the property is never the purchase price. The value of the property is what you can do with it. And in this case, buyer, first off, not qualifying for the loan, he's paying $100,000 more basically, but he still cash flowing. He's not paying out of his own pocket, so it makes sense for him.
Yeah.
And the buyer we found, he's a real estate investor, and he also looking for other benefits like besides cash flow is appreciation over the years and depreciation against his income. So it makes sense for the buyer. That would be benefits of the buyer. And like I said, a 0% on the equity, which is close to $500,000, is that's gold.
Yeah,
you're not gonna find anything like this.
Yeah.
Currently. So anyway, my job was just to connect my friend, my seller here, Clifton, and the buyer who didn't have to qualify and get all these amazing benefits. And for that, I handsomely got paid as well, my consultant fee, right? Yes. Which was $20,000. Yeah. So my goal was just to get Clifton his desired price. We got $1,020,000, which you were satisfied.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how we set up the deal. So it could sound complicated, which for me it was, because I've never done anything like that. You had no idea how subject to and seller finance works. So this was something that we both were new to, and I think we executed pretty well. So how we set up a transaction. So we found, first off, a buyer wasn't an experienced investor. So he had a title company that had experience in creative deals. So not every title company knows how to deal like that. So my very first suggestion would be find a title company that would deal with transactions like this.
Yeah.
And then you want to make sure that you set up a third-party servicing company to protect the seller and the buyer. So since the buyer is taking over the mortgage payments, they have access to Clifton's bank account, right? The mortgage bank account.
Yes. Not my bank account.
Not bank. Sorry, it's the mortgage account.
Yeah.
So basically, what servicing company does, they get a money from a buyer, and then servicing company pays the mortgage down and sends reports both to the seller and to the buyer, saying, "Hey, here is the report. This month the payment was made." And that's the point of the servicing company. That's the protection for both, like I said, a buyer and a seller. So you absolutely need to make sure that you have the servicing company in place. I truly believe that with rising interest rates, as we're experiencing in today's economy, having a tool like a creative finance is absolutely tremendously important to have in your toolbox, because this way you can help your buyer or seller, or even buy a property for yourself, right? Whether it's an investment property or a primary residence, where you don't have to qualify for 7-8% loans, which will affect your monthly payment tremendously. And this toolbox can solve a lot of problems, like it did for my friend Clifton here, right? Yes. And the buyer also truly found a lot of value buying the property via subject to and seller finance. So if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments section. Also, don't hesitate to reach out to me on Instagram. I'm very active on it. And if you found any value in this video, please like and share. Also, let me know in the comment section. Subscribe to this channel.
Subscribe.
Thank you for being here.